No, I'm in Mississippi actually, so I'm not going to be there. But let's talk about Critics' Choice, Simon Helberg. Last
Hello.
year, you won Best Supporting Actor, but you were not there. Kunal accepted for you. Did he ever give you that award?
He eventually, through a series of me pleading and eventually a bribe. Yeah, he actually had the envelope that says, where they open the envelope and they give that to you usually as a souvenir. And he kept that seriously probably for about, I think, 9 months. And he kept saying, "Oh, it's in my backpack. I don't know what he was doing with it. He was putting a hex on it, but the award was sent right away. But he held on to that. And I never got to see his speech. I was in Paris actually during it, which was like the coolest thing that's ever happened to me, was basically being in Paris and sleeping through my award. I always thought that only happens to like Johnny Depp or Brando or some, but somehow it happened. I didn't even know it was happening, and I got all these texts in the middle of the night, and yeah, I was shocked, but I did get the award, and I did get the envelope, and recently someone gave me a bottle of vodka from that night. So it's the gift that keeps on giving. I don't know. I guess missing an award show is the key to year-round praise.
Yeah, it makes you look so cool that you're just able to blow it off.
Yeah, exactly. I wish it was. I wish I could be that cool all the time, but it was an accident.
No attorneys were involved in getting the award back from him.
No, no, and no Native Americans went up and gave my speech. Not that Indian. The East Asian Indian gave the speech. Kunal and Johnny. So.
Well, he and I chatted just a little while ago, and I asked him this. I want to get your opinion, especially since you won that award, and the show won his Best Comedy Series that same night. Very, very few shows get the critical acclaim and also huge ratings. The
Yeah.
last one I can remember, that, especially from a comedy series, the last one I can remember doing that really was Friends. So tell me about that dual response from both groups.
Well, it's really hard for me to kind of see it objectively. I guess I do know that we do get both. I mean, I know that because I have seen people write about it, and then I've seen the ratings. So it's something that didn't happen right out of the gate. In fact, the ratings have always been. There's a misconception that we blew up overnight, or we started out really really slow, and actually none of that's true. We started out really nicely. It's just been a very steady incline. But the reviews and the response in the beginning was not positive, and the critics kind of ripped us apart into our faces at one of those TCA panels, and actually ended up apologizing the next year and coming to our stage, like 100 of them coming to our stage to talk and sort of make amends and say, you know what, we had only seen the pilot, which is what happens a lot. People see one episode and they make a judgment, and they saw a whole season's worth, or a season and a half, and they said this show is a lot deeper than we gave it credit for being. A lot of people thought it was, making fun of nerds or stereotypes or the blonde ditz who lives next door, and it's like in a pilot, you got to get a lot of information out in 22 minutes, and you have to flesh it out, and so the writers are amazing, and I think the show has gotten deeper and deeper every year, and it's a luxury of getting to tell a story over 7 years, 8 years, and I think it deserves the critical praise it gets, because I think it's smart, and I think it is tied in ultimately. I would think to the ratings, because if it was bad, not that everything critics say is good, but if it really wasn't working, I don't think an audience would tune in. So it's very fortunate. There's a lot of great shows that nobody watches that get great reviews, or I guess the other way around, and somehow we've kind of tapped into the sweet spot. I don't know. It's beyond my knowledge.
Well, you got them to do something they never do, which is, first of all, revisit a show. Once you're on their downside, it's rare they go back and change their minds, but also to kind of apologize.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's part of it is the faith in Chuck Lorre. I think part of it was seeing element of, not to sound trite, but magic or something, with Johnny and Jim's, those characters, that world that they had tapped into. Part of it maybe was knowing that nothing would succeed without me, so they had to go hire me. No, I mean, I'm just lucky that Kunal and I and Kaylee, and they brought us in, and when we were doing the pilot, I thought this doesn't. It just isn't generally like that. I think in this business where they give you a second chance and then they reconsider. It's kind of like, if you get a second chance, I feel like sometimes it's pity or politics or something. And this was, all of a sudden we did this and it really worked, and they said great. And that's ultimately, I guess, the credit of CBS for being believing in it. And I'm very indebted to that that decision.
Well, you've been a regular on other shows. You've been a guest star, obviously, on a bunch of shows. You've been in movies. When along the way, I don't imagine it was the very first pilot episode. When along the way did you think, wow, something's going on here?
Well, I had, it's sort of like a perfect metaphor for everything. I sort of had, I don't want to say that I was defeated, but by the time that I did the pilot, I thought, I had a couple thoughts. One was, I don't know if I want to keep. I'd done a lot of pilots, and I had played a lot of kind of nerdy characters, and I thought, I don't know if I want to keep doing these sorts of characters, and then I want to try something different, and it was different, but it was the same vein, and I had done a lot of it, and the thing was, a lot of the ones I had done were very broad or two-dimensional, and just it wasn't fulfilling. And I thought, well, all right, I'll do this. It seems like it's definitely a lot better than the majority of things that I've read, and it's a great group of people. And honestly, these things rarely go. I was doing Studio 60 at the time, and I didn't want to do Big Bang aside from those fears of continuing to play whatever geeky guys. I also was on Studio 60, and I thought, if Big Bang goes, I'll be obligated to do that instead of this huge Aaron Sorkin, monolith of a show. But it wasn't doing that great at the time, and I thought, well, I'll do Big Bang. It probably won't get picked up because, especially, it's a second time doing it. Those are the odds. And I did it, and I will say that the night that we did it, I knew that it was something otherworldly was happening. And I don't want to sound trite about speaking about a show like that, but it really was crazy what was happening. It felt very different than anything I'd ever done, and the audience reaction, and pilots, they don't know you, so there isn't usually entrance applause or things like that were happening, where it's like, why are you guys what's going on here? And the laughs were so enormous, and Jim Burrows would, he'd have to stop the scene to go back because the laughs were going. It was very surreal, and I remember hearing it even before I had made an entrance. I was in my dressing room, and I was like, this is an insane thing. So at that moment, I thought something special was happening, but again, I just gave in and said, whatever happens, happens. It was the first year I didn't think about it, I guess, and that's the metaphor, I think, is that you just, as soon as you kind of let go is when those things start to come together. So I didn't think about it, and then I heard Studio 60 wasn't really looking good, and I was like, oh man, I wonder if that pilot is gonna happen. I've never been on a pilot that's gotten picked up, and it did, and all of a sudden I was going to New York, and I couldn't believe it. So it was something in the air, and just letting go, and all of us coming together, and I don't know, it was pretty amazing.
Well, your character of Howard, of all the 5 original characters, I think has certainly his circumstances have changed the most. When they introduced Bernadette, and you could tell that we're going down a road of girlfriend and then possibly marriage, did you ever worry that would interfere with the group dynamic, the friend dynamic, to have him married?
Yeah. I think that my original feeling was like, oh no, I always is the guy making the entrance in the crazy pants with an even crazier plan of how to get a girl, or what we were going to do tonight, or how we were going to get into a scene and do, be crazy guys, and I felt like I was always that ringleader of like dumb ideas and failed attempts at landing girls. That was sort of what I felt like my character was built on. But then I think as Melissa's character came into the show and got fleshed out, and my character and her character, that dynamic, this new dynamic existed that was deeper, and it was different, and there obviously aren't any more stories where I'm putting on an eye patch and talking about these clever ways to land the ladies. But I think we had kind of I think that had sort of run out of steam. I mean, that element of the character, it was really fun and it was funny, and but I think there's only, we did a few seasons of this guy really walking that line of being, sleazy and repugnant, but still human, and now we had to kind of lean more into the human side of it and discard the sleaze element, and by we I mean the writers. They wasn't ever, I had nothing to do with it, but I think they tapped into that, and Melissa was so great, and they managed to make it work because this guy is not he's got a lot of maturing still to do. He's an adult, but only by age, and so yeah, he's going to play video games, and he works with these guys still, and they go on adventures together, so you don't lose any of that because these guys are still, it's all baby steps, so nobody matured to the point of not wanting to sit down and play Xbox or watch Star Wars. It's you still got the same thing, you've just got a deeper layers, and Melissa and Mayim and Kaylee, that trio is so incredible. I mean, it's just they really did something hard, which was to expand, make it better, and still keep within the tone of the show. So they're really, really smart.
Well, speaking of them, I want to talk about some of this season in particular. One of my favorite episodes was the scavenger hunt episode, and not because it was just funny and had a good plot, but they paired you all up in different ways than we ever really see you normally. And you're on, I believe your pairing was with Amy, which is Mayim Bialik. And tell us about that particular episode.
Well, Mayim and I, have really worked together. Never just by ourselves. And we're both, big fans of each other. And that was, it was special. It was really cool. That one, the thing that was also very unique about that was we didn't shoot that in front of an audience because we couldn't, there were just too many cuts, too many scenes that took place in cars, and a lot of smash cuts, where somebody would, the scene would be 4 lines, and then you would cut out to, the different pairing and the different pairing and different pairing. And so we shot that in a few days, or 2 days, and which is different in and of itself. But the episode was so smart, again, the writers managed to put spins on classic ideas without doing it just to be different, and without somehow remaining, being redundant. They do these stories that you've seen, but they're unique, and I think the pairings were all really funny, and that was part of, I think, what was behind it, was putting putting Melissa and Johnny together, which you haven't seen, and it was great, and I thought they really mined all those duos for all they were worth. That was a fun one. It turned out really really funny. I like that one a lot.
We particularly see how competitive Bernadette is, and I'm sure that interfolds into the life of the couple. That Howard already knows that, but the audience is now seeing it.
Right. You get little hints of it. You hear her scream off screen, and it's it's even more threatening than his mother. Or you definitely get the sense that she's in charge, and that he doesn't want to piss her off, and that's out of fear. And she can definitely punch hard. So yeah, it was fun to watch that. That made me laugh when she punches Johnny. That made me laugh every time.
When you've got an episode like that that's very much a farce or a slapstick or very action-packed, I'm sure that is a very fun table read.
Yeah, those are. Yeah, I mean, we read every episode Wednesday morning. We shoot every episode on Tuesday night, so we have a lot of fun at the table reads, and we all come in prepared, and I think that it's more than just a sketch usually for the writers and us. I mean, they deliver these near flawless scripts, and we try to get the performances as fully rounded as we can, just so that we all know what we're dealing with. And the table reads are really fun. There's less pressure than standing on your feet and running through it, but there's an excitement. It's new, and when stuff works, I mean, sometimes the laughs. Sometimes we're just trying to get back to what we had at the table read throughout the week, to get that, to have it feel that spontaneous, or the laughs that we get. And I don't know, it's definitely we have a lot of fun. And I mean, the writers, just to give such great scripts every week, I don't know how they do it. So it's a lot of that has to do with their talent.
Well, and this season, Howard and Bernadette have definitely had their ups and downs in the marriage, but not in a Breaking Bad kind of a way. I mean, in a Big Bang Theory comedy kind of way. Tell us about just that journey this year.
Well, gosh, it's I mean, I think that there is an element of I mean, there's sort of the elephant in the room being kids, I guess, but I don't think we're getting to that soon. But I think it's just, you got to talk about it, and I think we saw that sort of towards the end of the season, and dealing with Howard's mother. And so I think that their ups and downs, they're kind of, that's kind of what their relationship is the ups and downs. It is the Howard putting his foot in his mouth, and whether it's something absurd or whether it's kids or his mother, he just is not fully able to function without digging a little hole for himself to get in and eat crow or whatever is, I guess, the nice way of saying it. But yeah, he's a mess, and he kind of learns at the end of those little moments. He has a little moment, I guess, of growth, but they're baby steps. So not Breaking Bad scale, but just that. I think it's just the Jewish neurotic, self-deprecating. A lot of yelling, a lot of fretting, and then coming out the other side. It's just part of his nature, I guess.
Let me mention we've got a lot of people in the chat room, both on our Gold Derby site as well as on Google. And I'll just mention we've got Chloe and Stefania and Notch Incorporated, Bazinga Cast, Esther, just trying to see all the names here, Kentucky, and quite a few others. Stefania, along those lines, wants to know, where do you want to see Howard go next season?
Well, I don't have a say in where we actually get to take him, but I think, I mean, I've heard possibly, and I'm interested too in more exploration in terms of his father, what's going on there, where his father might be, maybe getting to meet his father. That's something that excites me, and I don't know if it's going to happen, but that's they've built that story up so nicely, and I'm excited to also get to see where we start with Stuart taking care of his mother. I think that's a very funny dynamic, and now that his mother is sort of holed up there, and we'll see how that affects the marriage and Howard's well-being.
Yeah, that was in the finale, and I love that setup for whether it's a few episodes or a whole season or whatever, taking the comic book store owner, now that his place is gone, and putting him in your life.
Yeah. It's another guy, another person that Howard has to sort of take care of. But he pawned him off on his mother, so it's a circle of sort of sad, inept people taking care of one another.
That was so funny too. When I mean, you've tried different people, it hasn't worked out, and that reveal moment where we see that it's Stewart and how much he's loving it.
I know. That was. I don't remember if that how that came about. If it was, I think it may have been our director Mark Sandrowski who said to Kevin, give it a little there's a little joy in this for you. This is a great moment. You got company and a job. I don't know, and that is that was one of the hardest moments I've had to keep a straight face, and I'm really good at that generally. But I don't know, there was something about the way we found out her name was Debbie, and just the joy with which he said Debbie killed me. But yeah, so I'm excited to come back to that. I love Kevin, and it's a fun dynamic.
Well, it seems like they've certainly would want to explore that more and not get away from it too fast.
No, they're brilliant at tapping into what works and mining it or exploiting it, and then moving on, digging deeper. That's I think part of what makes great writers great is that presence of mind and adapting and I'm sure we'll be back to that for sure.
In our poster, Kentucky was talking about your father and how that's a big emotional backstory that we especially saw in the previous season. Is there any kind of obviously they're going to cast who they want to cast, but if you could cast your father, who would it be? What's your dream choice?
Oh man, I get asked that a lot, and I feel like I changed it up. I used to say that I thought Ringo Starr would be hilarious, and also I selfishly just wanted to meet a Beatle, but it might be. That might be a little strange at this point, but I don't know. I feel like there's so many ways you could go. Obviously, I think of someone like Dustin Hoffman is probably one of my all-time heroes. It's been a while since maybe how long has it been since he's been on a sitcom? So yeah, I don't know if that's even in the realm of possibility.
Well, he did that HBO drama a couple of years ago, so it's not like he's totally opposed to television.
He did do that, and I think, I don't know. It depends. It depends on where someone's at. Like, the thing is it will probably be written really beautifully, and we get a lot of eyes on it. So it's I don't know. It could be a fun. Depending on where those guys are at, but that's somebody who that would be really amazing. And
is he one of your impressions? Is he somebody you do?
Oh, not well, but there are moments. I guess I hope to emulate him more than impersonate him. But yeah, he's that would be amazing. I don't know. I'm sure they'll come up with somebody pretty cool. I think if we get to meet him at all, we'll see.
That's what I think whether it's him or if it's one of the guys you already do anyway. It just would make so much sense. Like if they could get an Al Pacino or a Robin Williams or somebody, that would be hilarious.
yeah, Al Pacino, man. That would be great. I think it would be great to. You gotta, that role. I'm not a huge fan of stunt casting, where it's like, ooh, we got a famous person, and where you have to pause for the entrance applause when they come in. I like it, I don't like to be taken out of a story, I guess, but someone like that, it would be so amazing. So we'll see. I'm excited to see what the writers come up with.
Well, whenever I see you do the impressions on any of the talk shows, I saw you on Craig Ferguson this week. Well, I don't think you did one this week. They were so put out with each other that you just kind of just rolled along with the punches.
Yes, I'm trying to take a little break from the impression. So no,
well,
Craig.
I wasn't going to ask you. I thought about it. I thought, well, no, I'm not going to be the guy sitting there just watching you do impressions. That's kind of awkward.
It's a little like a party trick.
Yeah. I figured that was probably the case. That's like the last thing that you want to hear come up in a just a normal interview, especially not a late night talk show at least.
Yeah. Yes. Well, I appreciate.
But you did talk about your movie that your wife has done that you're in. Give us a quick synopsis and how people can see that.
The movie is called I Am I, and it's been out. It just came out last week in theaters in LA and New York, but it's the best place probably to see it is online on iTunes, or you can go to imithefilm.com. It's a beautiful story. She wrote it and directed it and starred in it, and it's about a young woman who, at her mother's funeral, meets the father that she never knew. It turns out he suffers from a form of memory loss, like a retrograde amnesia. He thinks he's 34 years old. He lives in a home, and when she goes to pursue this relationship with the man she never knew, she finds out he actually is mistaking her for her mother, because he fancies himself a young man, she looks like her mother, and essentially she allows him to court her in order to get to know him. So it's sort of a twist on like a it's not a love story by any means, and it's not perverse in any way. It's this beautiful father-daughter story, and about aging and memory, and it's bittersweet, and it's funny, and it's moving, it was something that was a passion project for my wife, and I'm in it as well, and we produced it, and she raised the money on Kickstarter right when Kickstarter was starting out, actually, and broke records and all that stuff in terms of the amount that it raised. But it's just this, it's a beautiful story, and it's been to some festivals and won some awards, and it's a drama, so it's not exactly like The Big Bang Theory, but a beautiful story and really poignant. And obviously, I know a lot of this day and age, and as we get older, people's relationships with their parents change, and Alzheimer's is pretty much an epidemic at this point, and so it has an element of that. Somewhere between The Notebook and Harold and Maude, I would say, a little, and it's an independent film, and it's a fantastic story. So,
well, good luck with that. That's really cool that she was able to really pioneer what's now going on regularly on Kickstarter, and that you got to work together.
Yeah, it was amazing, and to be directed by her. So she just got to tell me what to do in front of people, as opposed to behind closed doors. It was excellent. It was quite an experience, and we're so proud of it. And the response has been really, really wonderful. People are really seem to be affected by it. So yeah, it's imithefilm.com, and it's an incredible cast of just brilliant actors and a lot of theater people from LA. And so check it out, and we're very proud of it.
Well, looking forward to seeing that, and good luck with the Emmy nominations in July. I would have bet money last year you were getting in. I'm glad I didn't, because you didn't quite make it. But sometimes those voters are like a year behind, so maybe it'll happen this time.
We'll see, but keep your money. I don't want to be responsible for you. Well, thank you for having me on and chatting. It was really fun.